Then we get to Javier Milei, and I just want to read this paragraph from Javier Milei. It's really, really fantastic. So this is president of Argentina, and the president of Argentina said, quote, "At a certain point, this organization, the UN, stopped upholding the principles outlined in its founding declaration. In this very house that claims to protect human rights, they have allowed the entry of bloody dictatorships, such as those of Cuba and Venezuela, without the slightest reproach. And now, many of these leaders are recognizing a Palestinian state, the very people that are the definition of bloodthirsty, the very people that are the definition of evil, as we see with October 7th, which wasn't just Hamas, it was Hamas and the Palestinians, as 90%, 9 out of 10 of the Palestinians celebrated October 7th. They celebrated it. They danced in the streets. They danced on the rooftops, as you'll hear coming up from Prime Minister Netanyahu. They threw candies in the streets. They loved what Hamas and many of the Palestinian civilians did entering Israel on October 7th of 23. These are bloodthirsty, vile, evil people, the vast majority of them. And we have leaders of nations go, let's reward these people with a state of their own. Praise God for the courage of Prime Minister Netanyahu, who immediately came out after Keir Starmer and Macron of the UK and France said, we're going to officially recognize a Palestinian state. Netanyahu came out and said, there will never be a Palestinian state. We won't allow it. We won't allow it. Why? Because we've learned from our mistake over the last 20 years. We gave the Palestinians a state in 2005, and look what happened. We're not going to go down that road again. We're not going to commit cultural and political suicide. We're not going to do that. We're not going to commit national suicide by giving these bloodthirsty demons a state of their own. Ugh. So Javier Milei, he's got it. He's got it. It's like, look, these are bloody dictatorships like Cuba and Venezuela, and then also this Palestinian, quote, state that is like, you might as well say, you know, you recognize the state of Wakanda. And it's like, doesn't exist, all right? Even though that there were actually a tremendous number of blacks that when that stupid movie Black Panther, came out, Marvel's Black Panther came out years ago, they were like, yeah, Wakanda forever, baby. Yeah, Wakanda forever. It's like, it doesn't exist, guys. Never has, never will. Okay, there is no, super, technologically advanced nation of black people in Africa. It just is not a thing. Africa is today what it has been for many millennia at this point. War-torn, savage, ripped apart by civil war and genocides like what we see in Nigeria with these Islamists, these African Islamists that are slaughtering Christians by the thousands. Same thing that we can see that's happening in Syria right now. Islamists burning Christian towns, burning their fields, slaughtering Christians, which President Trump also talked about, by the way. And that's why I would recommend that you check out the whole speech that President Trump gave, because he spoke about how Christianity is the number one most persecuted religion in all the world. And that's true, at least by proportion, by numbers. But it really does come down to two. It comes down to two groups of people that are more persecuted than any other, and that's Christians and Jews. The people of the book, the people of this book, the people of the truth. I mean, that's how it works. Just as Jesus, the Jew, said to his disciples at the Last Supper that in this world you will have tribulation. Yeah, because if you stand for the truth in this world of darkness, where Satan is the god of this world, the father of lies is the god of this fallen world, you're going to have tribulation. You're going to be persecuted, guaranteed. And so there's no coincidence that the two most hated nations on planet Earth is Israel and the United States of America. The same two nations that these Islamists call the little Satan and the big Satan, that they chant death to Israel and death to America, to the United States of America. And it's also no coincidence that the two groups of people that are more hated than any other on earth are the Jews and the Christians. That's not coincidence. These two nations and these two peoples are built on the truth. And if you're built on the truth, you will be hated by the world. That's just how it works. And yet we have all of these idiots on the woke right that are trying to convince many people on the right that, hey, we need to get rid of Israel. We need to stand, with the Palestinian people because genocide, blah, blah, genocide. And America first means America only. No, it doesn't. It does not. You go with an America only position, and America is done. America is done. You embrace selfishness and greed, yeah. Then what has made America great will never be brought back, will be restored. Because what made America great is we were good, we were godly, we were selfless and sacrificing and courageous. We got to get back to that. We have to get back to that. Getting back to President Milei, he says, in this very house that claims to defend the rights of women, it also allows countries that punish their women for showing skin to join the community for the elimination of discrimination against women, right? He's talking about the Islamic nations right there. And then he also says this, in this very house, there is a systemic voting pattern against the state of Israel, which is the only country in the Middle East that defends liberal democracy while simultaneously demonstrating a total inability to respond to terrorism. This house, the UN, there is a systemic voting pattern against the state of Israel. You want to see actual proof of that? Here you go. From the account Hunters of Nazis on X. Reminder, the UN isn't just biased, it's obsessed. A Nazi echo chamber in a blue helmet. So here we have the 2024 UN General Assembly resolutions on, right? These are what the United Nations, they gather together in order to create and form these resolutions on. Like, this is what we need to have happen, all right? Okay. Well, when they talk about, say, Afghanistan, well, there's 0. When they talk about North Korea, which is like pure evil with their communism, extreme communism, they have one resolution on North Korea, 0 on Venezuela, 1 on Myanmar, 0 Lebanon, 0 Pakistan, 0 Hamas, 0 Algeria, 0 Turkey, 1 on Russia, 0 China, 0 Qatar, 0 on Saudi Arabia, 17 on Israel, 17, 0 on Cuba, 1 on Syria, 0 on Iraq, 1 on Iran, and 1 on the United States. 17 resolutions on Israel. Like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. That's real. So when the Jews are talking about how anti-Semitism is very much so alive and well in the world today, there's reason for that. There's proof for that. Not just in the echo chamber of the United Nations, but all throughout the world. As, once again, Jews and then also Christians, number one most persecuted. But when it comes to Christians, they're the number one most persecuted in third world countries, like African nations, certainly in China, North Korea, etc. But when it comes to the one and the only Jewish state on planet Earth, the state of Israel, here we have the UN, like virtually nothing against everyone else, and then they have 17 resolutions on Israel. Just despicable. Absolutely vile. So this is Javier Milei once again. In this very house, there is a systemic voting pattern against the state of Israel.